Okay, I think I'll do a little like live update, meaning I'll make this and post it, and then it'll go on my little YouTube ones, the live updates, because there's a few things and I'll wind up forgetting. And I just pulled up to my daughter's house where I do meetings on Sunday, and I was kind of debating. Oh, she's sitting right here. I was kind of debating on teaching, but anyway, she must. I pulled up. I didn't know she was home, and I just happened to like be sitting in the car, just rubbing my eyes. So she knocked on the window. Sometimes, you might look like, but I was debating. I was meditating. So she kind of seen me in the car, and all right. The few little updates I want to do is I was debating on right now doing the next chapter of Kings, but I've been reading some of the chapters, and I read that just once already the other night, and I figured, maybe I'll reread it right now and teach it, but there was enough that I figured I'd just do the update. I made a video yesterday. I think it was Thursday morning, and I was just talking about news issues. Sometimes when I do those types of things, I'll give you two examples. It's not that we say those are prophetic events, but one of the things that I actually talked about in the morning, because I got upset about watching the news, and I got into the whole Clinton thing and the Clinton Foundation, and basically saying, look, there was enough books written, other things. There was enough that anybody that is a fair, non-biased person could say they could have had charges, particularly on the things I mentioned on that little rollout video. I think I called it Breaking World News. That night, which was last night, sure enough, Politico, news site, actually reported the FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating that as well as a few other things. So I checked the breaking news or the news sites just now. Now Fox News, of course, is going to show that, and normally CNN won't. But that was the top breaking news today on both CNN Online, of course, and on Fox Online. So it's not just a political thing when you see a liberal news site, when you see a fake news site. So that is a big thing. And it is indeed justified. And just a little context. When President Donald Trump won, a lot of people thought that there was enough for the Department of Justice and FBI or whatever to actually look into and bring charges on Hillary Clinton. A lot of people thought that. And if you just go back and remember when Trump was inaugurated and all, he himself, in a way, was magnanimous. And he made a few statements saying, I think it's better now that the election is over to not, go down that route. Now, obviously, he changed, okay, with the tweets and everything else. But you have to look at it from this angle. They pushed a lot of stuff to go after not only Trump, but his kids, his family, things like that. They now have charges against some of his former people, Manafort, that they wanted to get them. And it just seemed like it would have been better if I blame some of that, yes, on the liberal news sites, because my daughter's walking over there, because they kept pushing these things about the Russia and so forth, and I understand that's not over yet. But I just found it interesting because I just was mentioning yesterday morning, I said there was enough, anybody that looked at it. And sure enough, that was the big news today. So that story broke that night. And it was just interesting. One other thing, and it'll be kind of hard for me to tell this one. It's not bad, but I'm working on a lot of different, video sites. And sometimes when you upload videos, you try different sites, and I try to want to do stuff that looks somewhat professional, and there's a few that are good sites, well-known sites, YouTube, this will go on YouTube. But then when I went to one called Daily Motion, I'm not going to use that one no more. The videos I put on there are fine. But yesterday, as I was walking, I did a walk, I mentioned also on the little news update, breaking news. I mentioned it, I remember this. I said, for some reason I'm thinking about India and the internet scams and the people that work at cafes and they scam Americans. You owe taxes and they send it and they're all... I didn't know why that was on my mind, and I did talk about it on one of the rollout videos I made. There was a reason that was on my mind. And as I was walking yesterday, this is kind of like, I felt a little like guilty because I started having thoughts about Indians, India, okay, the country, and I started somewhat negative thoughts, like, it was still in my mind, like, why do they scam people and why is this all going on? And I thought of something that was kind of a joke. Be hard to tell, and it's not meant to be offensive. But the history of our area as well as other places, many fine Indian people coming from India, okay, not American Indians. Many fine Indian people, they have bought hotels in our area and stores and things like that, and that's fine. Joe Biden got in trouble once because he made statements that were kind of... And one time the guys were telling me they kind of were referring to a particular Stripes manager, and they use, derogatory term, if you will. They say, Hajib. And as a joke, I said, oh, he doesn't like me. I don't know why. I said, I went into the store the other day. I said, Hajib, I would like some cigarettes. Now, of course, then it was Jammer, and then that kind of, I did that trick on. They're like, no, that's not his name. I said, no, I know, I'm kidding. And some of the nice Indian owners, by the way, actually went out of their way to give a job to one of my friends, and so some might be Christians or whatever, so this was not meant to be negative towards them. But that was in my head, like, man, they were a bunch of scammers, and it was in my head. And later that night, which was last night, as I'm doing some of these new sites, the Daily Motion site, which I cut it off, I realized as I was uploading, those types of videos play on like a rollout, and maybe that's why I did it, so other people it'll pop up like in a TV type setting. And they had little pictures of what's coming up next, small on the screen. As I looked at them, I thought, man, some of those almost look like a porn picture. And last night, I didn't watch the whole video, but I was uploading. I said, now what's coming up next on the Daily Motion? The quality was bad, and those videos on there they upload fine on other sites, and I thought maybe they are negative towards, because I put on the tags, Bible, Christian, God, Jesus, things of that nature. And then I noticed they wouldn't upload. We tried 4 times on a few videos. I knew they didn't try 4 times, but then they let me upload last night. And I realized as I was checking it, there are commercials. Those sites, people monetize videos. I do not do that, meaning you could get money for videos. But there's already commercials playing on my particular Daily Motion site that had Corpus Christi commercials playing on it. So there was already, they sell ads, and those ads, I guess, go to whoever it would be in the area. And then I realized, of course, I got rid of that site. I left the videos on, but I'm not going to upload there. And I just Googled. I said, well, what's up with Daily Motion? And initially, I just Googled good video sites, and that was one that came up. And sure enough, some lady said, and it looks like they play soft porn on the other videos. And they said, even if you show on your site that you're a Christian site or whatever, that's why I had those thoughts about scam and India. And it wasn't so much that I was in general having ethnic prejudice. Those were coming up because that's exactly what that site is. It's kind of like a scam. I read some of the write-ups on it. So both of those things, just mentioning the Hillary thing, the Clinton, which is top news today, even on a liberal site like CNN. So it's kind of like being, sometimes you might be in touch. We as Christians don't say intuition or whatever, but the spiritual gifts, in a sense, if you're in tune with things, and God will reveal certain things to you. You might not make the connection initially, and then later you'll say, oh, okay, I see why. And so those few little things, later in the day I realized, oh, that's what that meant in those instances. Now, I'll just end it quick. I did check the news, and that really is the main news. Locally, there's a couple of other, sad stories of crime and all, but I don't think there's anything that particularly I should mention. I ran into, when I visit in different areas, whether it's parts of Corpus Christi, one of my friends that I try to see on the other side of Corpus Christi, on the west side of town, I want to start doing a couple little meetings over there. Because a few years ago, I was helping in the ministry. And at that time, I said, look, I'm going to start going to different places. I'm going to go to New York every year, New Jersey, and I do that. And some of them were also excited about things God was doing with them. And I always wanted to keep helping them. And some of their ministries, though they were being used of God at the time, don't exist anymore. And I could see that the thing missing in some of my Christian friends is they're not being used anymore. And some of them go through depression, and I help them in the sense of when I'm there, we do ministry. We try and encourage. I try and do that. And just some of the statements, like a friend of mine almost died a few years ago, and as I was talking to him, I said, I remember visiting you, brother, when you were on his heart stopped. He had open heart surgery, and he kind of said, I should have died then, John, which was about 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And so I just see, and I said, no, I want to encourage my friends. You still have a purpose. You still have something God's going to do with you. We try to remain focused, okay? And I guess I'm doing somewhat of the news thing. The other thing I was thinking of, without mocking, and the whole thing of global warming. Okay, so now we have the cold front. I understand that people that are strong global warming enthusiasts say, this, you don't understand, there's a reason why the global warming is affecting, and we have this change in all. It's interesting, though, because Mr. Gore has claimed some credit for the recent thing, but the way he did it, a few years ago they had a certain amount of statistics. Al Gore said a few years ago that it's possible that our kids are never going to see snow again coming up this time period, meaning he said this about 15 years or 10 years ago, whatever. So he obviously believed at that point that the global warming, now referred to as climate change, was not going to have real cold effects, because he was promoting back then that it's possible that our kids in this generation in the U.S. would not see snow. Okay, so if you believe that, if that was part of your sincere belief in the other things, I'm not denying all science, and then you have a real cold spell, and then you say, which he has now come out publicly and said, no, this is part of what we said would happen. Well, if you said 10 years ago, I don't want to lie on him, but if you said it's possible that our kids will never see snow again, obviously you believe that global warming meant that it was not going to get real cold. Okay? And I don't want to debate the whole issue. Recently, just last week, the actual statistics, they felt some of the people that were predicting, when they looked at it over the next 10 years and stuff, they actually all came in under what they felt was going to happen. And then there's been times where people have, for political reasons, and I'm not saying because it's cold, I understand the Trump tweets and all, but it's also not honest for maybe Mr. Gore or anybody else to say, no, we said this was going to happen, because there were other statements that Mr. Gore made, like I just gave you, that it's possible this generation of kids at this time period we're in now would never see snow again. So, look, you can't have both ways. But politics affects people in a lot of ways. Okay, not just people, and I've given a few examples of that in other areas of and people get focused on a particular thing. I'm not rejoicing that they're going after Hillary Clinton and all that, but there was enough. Anybody that watches the news could have understood. And that was the particular thing I mentioned. I said it had to do with when a person is Secretary of State and then foreign countries, and you represent the U.S., and they are giving much, and believe me, those countries that gave those millions to the Clinton Foundation, they are not doing that anymore. And so, either way, so this will be just a little update. Elijah is going to come up in the Kings thing. I'm still going to teach something here Sunday. And my daughter asked me yesterday if I wanted to do a little teaching, but I'm somewhat swamped in some of those other things that we're working on. And so, Daily Motion videos, I'm not going to remove the links. Hopefully, I even debated. I thought, oh, maybe I'll just, if they're letting them play in a lineup with other stuff that's not good, maybe. But the quality was bad, and it wasn't because of my video quality, which I know is bad because some of the others is. And then they seemed like they were scamming on some things. But then they probably maybe decided to let me keep uploading, but I don't want to have people watching a site where my video's on, and then stuff like that shit pops up next. So that's it for that, okay? I bless you guys. And, this weekend, of course, I'm not sure which. I'll try to do the Mass verses on the next Sunday sermon one. I actually have the Ephesians video made already, and sometimes I write the notes on the posts a day or two ahead of time before I post them. And so I might have said, which I think I did, the Ephesians is not done, but by the time I posted it, it was done, even the last post. So I try to, I'm not making things up, all right? So we got a few things coming. I want to bless you guys. There are a lot of scriptures. In the mornings, there's a lot of time spent quoting scripture. And when God made everything, he saw that it was good, and then he said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And so we want to get the word out, okay? That's where you see a lot of my, I don't need to spam everybody with those things. One of the other verses from Ecclesiastes, which I read the night before, it said, all the streams, they run into the oceans, but yet the oceans are never full. And one in the Psalms said, all of my streams are in you, talking about Zion, talking about God's people. And so one other interesting note, being I'm doing this as a little talk, the principle, I bought my wife once a little plaque, because she likes the I Love Lucy shows. But it's a little plaque, and it's hung up, and it says 179 episodes of television history. Of course, I used to watch I Love Lucy as a kid, the sitcom. But I thought, how many millions and millions of those episodes? Of course, people that was on the other night on one of our local channels on my TV set. And I thought, how come 179, comedy show, which is a classic show? It's because people have a tendency to watch what's coming up on the screen, okay? And a lot of the reruns and things, and that was in my head. And I was sitting with my friend Mike doing a visit 2 days ago, and that principle was in my mind, that remember, as I rerun these, that's what I'm thinking of. And my friend Mike says, John, I like watching the reruns, talking about the Rockford Files. Right as I was thinking that, and it was just these principles. You're attentive. Your friends will speak things, and it'll confirm things. And so that's why we do a lot of the reposting. I'm trying not to repost the same exact ones on the different sites. I start from a different part on my backup drives that I share these from. But that's the principle. We want to get the word out. And when God created everything in Genesis 1, he saw that it was good. And then he said, be fruitful and multiply. And it was the principle of the seed in the trees, the seed, the production, okay? That's the principle. And that the word of the Lord will go forth. So that's the little update for today. I'll post this right now. And before I forgot, I figured I'd share those. Okay, God bless everybody.